Hello, and welcome everybody here in Helsinki and watching online at home as well. I'm Alex Bell, I'm Director of Portland Education in London, and I'm also an ambassador for HundrED. So I seek and I share inspiring innovations in K-12 education. So today is all about how we spread our innovations to 100 plus countries if we can. And we've got 4 very inspiring innovators here to share that with us. And I'm going to really sort of delving at how we can do that in a very practical way. I want not the dream, but the actual reality of how to make it happen. So we're going to be doing that today. So I'm really, really excited to introduce to you today Clary Vaughan Lee. And Clary is Executive Director of Global Oneness Project. So round of applause for Clary. And Sujeta Bhatt, CEO of Dream a Dream. Welcome, Sujeta. And Linda Lucas, founder of Hello Ruby. And Rico Alchio, CEO of Seppo. So the format for this session is to get them to spend a few moments just sharing with us how their idea started and how it got to where it is today and how HundrED helped that to happen as well. So let's take it away. So Clary, tell us.
Good morning, everyone. So Global Oneness Project, we started in 2006. We've been around for 12 years, and we're documentary filmmakers and storytellers and curriculum writers. And so our multimedia platform houses short documentary films, photo essays, and companion curriculum goes with all of these stories. And all of these stories really highlight migration, big global issues like migration, climate change, poverty. We really focus also on indigenous cultures. So we're looking at stories that really highlight individuals and communities on the edges of change and how to kind of bring those into the classroom. So in 2006, we started, this was kind of like the beginning of video sharing. YouTube started in 2005. And so there's 2 things that we did in the very beginning that kind of started our platform. One is we had our own video player on our website, and we used an organization called .sub, which enabled all of our videos to be translated into any language around the world. And another thing we did is we invited everybody globally, people to come to our website, sign up. And we said that we would send a DVD. We had DVDs, which back then were used more than they are today. We had a small collection of our films on DVDs. And we asked people 3 things. Come to our site, sign up. We'll send you a DVD to anywhere in the world for free. We'll pay for the postage. But we ask you 3 things. Gather 10 or more people together, watch the films, discuss them, and pay it forward. So pass on the DVDs to someone else. And they are also asked to do the same thing. Gather 10 or more people, watch the films, and discuss them. And that enabled our stories to kind of spread to a global audience and in a very organic way. Throughout the years, as 2006 grew, our stories grew, we started combining and having a collection of stories. Educators were finding them organically. So we're starting to have these conversations with educators in an organic way. We started to listen to what they needed. So about 6 years ago, we started to develop companion curriculum to go with the stories. We started really having engaging conversations with teachers, with students. What is it that they were looking for? That's when we started to really see the impact of how these stories are impacting students. When I talked yesterday about one of our films called Marie's Dictionary, which is about a Native American woman who's the last speaker of her language. And I use this film a lot with teachers and students in classrooms because it highlights the themes of identity, cultural identity, things in this world that are vanishing, that we feel are really important to to document in a story, and it impacts teachers on an emotional level. And we find that so important and critical, because if we're sharing a story, and stories are intended to be shared, that's their nature. So when we have teachers come together and are watching a film like this, they get emotional. They end up sharing their cultural heritage, what's important to them, what's important about their families, and then they take that into the classroom, and that inspires them to do the work that they do. And then the same thing happens with students. So we've grown throughout the years as expertise in filmmaking. And today, to share kind of one of our newer projects, is a film called Earthrise, which just premiered last month on the New York Times OpDocs. Earthrise is a 30-minute documentary which highlights the story of the Earthrise photograph taken in 1968. This was the first time that humans had left Earth's orbit to go on the first lunar orbit around the moon. This was the first time that we saw our planet as one ecosystem, one shared home. And this, 2 years later, in 1970, was the first Earth Day. So we started to see the environmental movement take place. So there are a lot of different impacts that this film is having. I've been piloting this film in classrooms over the last year, working with teachers and students into how we can have these great cultural, historical conversations about this moment in time. But what does that mean today? And for me, that I'm very passionate about what does it mean today, 50 years later, and how can we bring a consciousness back into ourselves and our planet at a time of planetary crisis. So on Monday, I shared Earthrise with Helsinki high school students, which was very, very empowering for me. And the last group we sat for 20 minutes, and they had question after question after question. And one question that stood out to me was a high school student who said, he was looking at me and he said, well, what about this film impacted you the most? Was it the psychological, was it the philosophical, or was it the scientific? And I thought, wow, this student really got to the heart of it, because these are the conversations we've been having with scientists and science museums as well, is that we need to have discussions with teachers and with students across all silos. That's a word that came up earlier today, that we need to bridge all of these fields. So that's kind of where we are today.
Thank you so much.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sujatha, tell us this story of how Dream a Dream started and how it got to where it is today.
Sure. So Dream a Dream, we started in 1999. It was started by 12 volunteers who just came together, wanted to do something over the weekends, started engaging with young people, and realized that there was something happening there. Just giving children access to fun learning environments was creating a difference and was creating an impact. So at that time, life skills was not even defined by WHO, and it was over the course of the years that after we had started doing the work, we came to know what is the science and what is the research behind it. Today, we are still, our headquarters is in Bangalore, but we work with about 10,000 children a year, every year, where we work in after-school programs and help them also make transitions to careers. We train teachers in India and Kenya. We have worked with about 7,000 teachers across these two countries. But I think the most important work we do is really advocacy and thought leadership vertical that we have at Dream a Dream, which is looking at how education change can happen at a national level in India. And we are looking at it not from a very specific lens of why life skills is necessary for children who come from disadvantaged backgrounds, why it is even more necessary because they're not starting at the same point as, say, a child from a mainstream background is. So life skills is not just about preparing them for the future, but it is also about helping them overcome the impact of adversity that they experience from a very early stage. And that's really where the innovation that HundrED is recognized. It's the Dream Life Skills Assessment Scale came out of. That insight that children from disadvantaged backgrounds are not following the normal pattern of development as children would across the world. And that is why the assessment scale is the only scale that can help you measure life skills in children from disadvantaged backgrounds.
Thank you. Great. And tell us about, hello, Ruby.
So I'm a children's book author who writes picture books about computer science, and combining these two worlds of childhood and computer science, which is often seen as a very sort of esoteric and scary science for most people, is what I do. And the project was literally started in the margins of my computer science book. So I started to imagine a little girl called Ruby who would explain all of this concept that felt very abstract for me. And slowly out of that was born a blog where I would start to post these pictures, where I tried to explain concepts of computer science like object-oriented programming or so. And then I did a Kickstarter campaign back in 2014 for a children's book, mostly intended for my programmer friend parents who wanted to explain their profession for their kids. And then turns out there was this global appetite for something like this, and the project ended up raising almost $400,000. But more important than the monetary side of things was the community that it built from the get-go. So roughly 10,000 people who believed that there was another way of explaining what computer science is and how it feels. And today Ruby is translated into 25 different languages. It's 4 books about coding, about hardware, about how the internet works and what machine learning is, and what should 6-year-olds understand about that world.
Thank you so much, Linda. Fantastic. Thank you. Riku, tell us about Seppo.
Hello, my name is Riku, and this is my story. So, I used to be a teacher in one of the upper secondary schools here in Helsinki. I used to teach history and do some guidance and counseling as well. The school is called Kallio Lukio, actually. In the school, there was a project about taking kids or students, they were 16, 17, 18 years old. Once in a year, we took them for an excursion to 1 week in Rome. And it was back in 2011, we had a project starting on. And then before we started the project, we asked the students that, hey, guys, what would you like to do in Rome to make the week as interesting as possible? So there were 2 teams among the students that came up with the idea that, hey, we want to make a game in Rome. And they created Amazing Grace Church Edition, where they made their fellow students visiting different Roman churches. Actually, they were running to the next church. It was done just according to the TV series Amazing Grace. I guess you all know that brand. And to be honest, I have never seen the students being so excited about learning. And after the game, actually, they could have gone shopping, but they returned to the churches to do some more studying. And that was kind of a proof that, hey, there's something in the game that made them so engaged about the subject and about the thing. So the feedback of the project and the game was so positive that at the moment I decided that I will quit my job and I try to find out what there is in the gamification or the game that we can bring to school. So that's how the idea of Seppo started. So we digged out what there is in the game. I know that we all kind of play games, and there must be something behind the games because people are playing them so much. So there's a research done about game mechanics and how we can engage people to do whatever they do by using the game mechanics. And that's what we started to think about. Then I decided, there were 3 teachers from our school. We decided that, hey, let's found a company. And let's try to think that, okay, how we can turn this experience into a product. And I think that is a really important thing here that we should discuss also, that it's a lot about innovation, as they are great. But if you really want to make business out of it, so you have to productize it. And it's not always easy. So we have done it. We are halfway there to spread the innovation or the product to 100 and more than 100 countries. We have users in about 50 countries. So what we end up to do is we created a platform, a very easy to use tool for any teacher to create your own educational games. And since the Roman experience, actually what we have done, so we are specialized in taking the learning from inside the classroom to the real world settings. So Seppo it's not a single game, it's a tool for you, any teacher, to gamify your lesson plans. And I think that there has been a lot of talk also this morning about how to engage the students. Actually, we have something that we have to get their share of attention There's so much going on in the world at the moment. So actually we have to think about how to bring those informal ways of learning to a formal setting like school. And gamification actually is a good thing for that. In every game, behind every game, there's this learning aspect as well. It depends what game you're playing, but then again, in every game there's the learning curve. And people get excited. And it's not just kids. We are using, actually the companies are using our platform in their internal trainings. So adults like to play as well. As we all know, the children, they learn by playing. It's a very creative way to learn. And we want to encourage the teachers to use that with university students as well. Let people play, because then you kind of are more creative and more productive. And I'm really happy for, actually we were in Bangalore to have some workshops in the local schools, and we created game together with the students that I just met first time there. So it was one of the best experiences I have had during these 5 years, to share these moments, and okay, I can see that, hey, games really work. And it's not just entertainment, it's serious learning, but you can by adding kind of a gamification elements, you can really make people to more active, more productive, and it has been so cool to see that it works. But then again, of course, there's the business side. and if you want to turn your innovation into a product, so it means that, okay, we three teachers noticed very soon that, okay, maybe we need also some kind of a financial expertise, and then we need developers, because this is a technological product. So kind of very first kind of advice for the innovators, if you want to make it a product. So you have to have the right team, you have to have the right people in the team near you, and then of course you need some funding.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately. I found it much easier for me to sell the product to the teachers than to sell the company to the investors. But that's my problem. But that's how it is. Yeah. But that's actually what we are still doing, and Seppo is now used in about 50 countries.
Amazing, impactful stories from all of you. But that's not enough. We're here because we are hoping to inspire others to do the same as you, and we're here to try and get them to spread their innovation to 100+ companies. So the question I'm going to ask you now is, tell us the mistakes and the pitfalls that you actually made that they can learn from and try and avoid themselves. So let's start with you, Cleary.
I think, well, to start with that, I would say that with any innovation, you have to think about what is the mission and the vision and the value behind what you offer. And sometimes that can, lead you astray. For example, about 7 years ago, we thought to create a magazine. That didn't work out. It wasn't sustainable. It was going to create too much work. And it just didn't work out. So we had to peel back and say our mission and values were still in place. They were the same, but we just had to kind of reorient. And then we kind of found another niche and decided to go where we are today.
Great. Same question, Sujata.
I think one of the learnings, I would say, it's not. I don't see it so much as a mistake, because we really just learned as we were doing it, is that when we started, even with assessments, if I were to just take the case of assessments, and this is true of many other things we do at Dream a Dream, it started off by something that was true for Dream a Dream and which worked for us, which worked for our children, it worked in our programs. But the idea was that you need to scale the idea of what you're doing and not so much what you're doing itself. So we didn't want to go after scaling our program or scaling the way we were assessing or scaling what worked for us. But what is the true idea that you want to scale? And that's when we said what we want is to make life skills accessible to children from disadvantaged backgrounds, to help them overcome adversity and then prepare them for the future. So when we articulated it as an idea versus my program is when we came up with a scale which was which is more universally acceptable. It can be used today in 26 other countries that we know it's getting used, possibly getting used in more countries. We brought in the experts who were child psychology experts, and then we combined it with our insights from the ground. So it really became about what is the idea that can scale versus what is my program or my learning that can scale. So I would say that has been the biggest learning.
Thank you. Linda, how can people avoid mistakes and pitfalls?
I think you shouldn't avoid mistakes. They are one wonderful way to learn. I think the biggest mistake for me was allowing other people to sort of impose their vocabulary and ideas of what I was doing early on. I think when you create something that has a soul, other people have a sense of saying that this is the structure that it should sit in. And coming from sort of the technology and startup background, that was the structure that was kind of being imposed on me. And it meant that I did a lot of discussions around virality and growth and retention. And then later I realized that I actually have a vocabulary to describe these things already. And those are stories, which kind of you remember that stories stick to us, and stories explain ourselves and each other and the world around us. And I think the biggest mistake I've made throughout the Hello Ruby journey is allowing other people to kind of put their own metrics and vocabulary and sense of success on top of my projects and not trusting my own sense.
Thanks. Riku, you said it wasn't a straightforward journey. Tell us a bit more detail about some of those
Yeah, so I
actually
continue what Linda said about trusting your vision and doing your product. So we did so because people come to say, hey, you can use this for traveling and you can use it for gamifying the events and the public stuff. So, but we tried that, but then we knowledge that it takes so much work from our side to do produce also the content for the events and that traveling. So stick to the idea and stay in the road that you have decided. I guess that is the one thing that you should follow your kind of instinct about how to take it on. Of course, listen to the people that have something to say on the or kind of related to the subject. I think if kind of producing a technological educational product from an innovation, I think that it would be very, very crucial to have the pedagogical expertise inside the company. Some of you visited Kalasataman Koulu yesterday in Helsinki. Actually, in Helsinki, we have a project that we are co-creating the products together with the teachers. And I think in Finland, it's really great to produce the kind of a test and develop the products with the teachers because they give a lot of good feedback. But to have the kind of the pedagogical expertise in the team. Actually, we did that. We had that, but then again, we missed the development team in our company. So. I would say that having the right team in the beginning and then having a roadmap, of course, as a startup, you have to see where the money comes in. So you have to grab that, but then again, see the direction where you're going and keep that thing.
Great, thank you. I want to ask now about how each of you used HundrED to actually help spread the innovation, because I think that could be very inspirational for people watching. So Sujeta, let's start with you this time.
Sure. So this HundrED we came to know only about a year back, and it's been great. Just the engagement and the recognition that we've got now, especially. But I would say this is really the start for us of using this platform, using this recognition. The most important outcome I would wish from this association with HundrED is that there is already all of this work that has been done. And assessment is especially difficult. It took us 8 years working with clinical psychologists, working with universities, getting our own data from the ground. So there was so much work that was put into it. And the reason we have kept it open source is so that you don't have to do it again. So I would really wish that through this platform, through HundrED, we can use each other's innovations, and we don't have to do some of these things which have already been done, especially which take years of research and work to do and a lot of bandwidth. So the scale is here. I have it. I can share it with you, but it's also open source, downloadable on our website and now on the HundrED's website as well. So I would say
Linda,
that would be the key.
Thank you so much.
Oh, I would echo it. Definitely that same sentiment of documentation. Like in the industry where I come from, the software development industry, the community repository model, the idea that we share openly and build on top of each other's idea is so paramount to the success of the entire industry that when I started to research education, I was surprised that people don't share in a uniform way what they do, and you can find snippets of information everywhere. And what the biggest kind of advantage of HundrED is that it formalizes learning and documents different approaches, and it's just a quick way of understanding and getting an overview of different approaches.
Fantastic, thanks so much. Riku?
I guess the network is the thing that, and of course the recognition that, you have been chosen from thousands of solutions and innovations to be selected as 100. So I think that is the thing. And then, people find us getting in a company. It's really important to get the awareness going on. So that's the practical side of it. But
Claire, we've got 30 seconds left. I just want to ask you that same question, then each of you for one final piece of advice for everybody. So Claire, with the same question.
I would echo what everyone said, but also kind of getting to the heart of what it means to learn. And I think what HundrED is doing is going deep into that work. And so that is enabling us to have conversations with people, everyone here in the room, and kind of to take that a step further. What was you just saying?
So I'm going to ask each of you to spell one very quick phrase about your concrete advice for people who wanted to spread their innovation to 100 plus countries.
Two things. I would say, is your innovation universal? How can you kind of reach people on all countries? And then two, have you considered reaching all education stakeholders? That includes librarians, administrators, teachers, students, parents, and also the people on the fringes, like museums and communities at large. So,
thank you. Sujata, as quick as you can. Thanks.
I would say the ability to really just step back, look at what you're doing, and take out the most crucial or critical part of what you're doing, and then scale that idea.
Wonderful. Linda?
Start with something people recognize when teaching a new discipline like computer science. A picture book is a really, really well-recognized format to teach.
And finally, Riku?
Yeah, maybe to continue again what the others said. So to scale up the idea and then scale up to be a product if you want to make a business out of it. So I guess that's...
Thank you all so much. You've really inspired us. I'm looking forward to seeing the next generation of innovators next year. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much.